Lakeland Currents, your public affairs program for north central Minnesota. Closed captioning is made possible by Bemidji Regional Airport, serving the region with daily flights to Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport. More information available at bemidjiairport.org.
Welcome to Lakeland Currents. I'm Todd Haugen. On Lakeland Currents, this time our guests are from a couple of solid waste handling portions of area counties. From Beltrami County, we have the Solid Waste Director, Brian Olson, and from Hubbard County, the Director of Solid Waste is Josh Holte. Welcome to Lakeland Currents, you two.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Todd.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
This is an issue that might not get people too excited, a little trash talk, but at the same time, it's something we're all involved in. We all generate trash, and what to do with it is something we all need to at least think about. And you guys' jobs, I mean, you may think, oh, okay, well, you're talking with the solid waste director, so you're going to be talking about the transfer stations. Well, you have more to do than that, don't you?
Yeah, we do, Todd. I guess our jobs consist of, both of us operate landfills and transfer stations, but we also deal with public complaints with trash. So I don't know if Josh wants to fill in any more on that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's everything from running and operating the transfer stations in Hubbard County, also all of our recycling program, as well as just solid waste planning and staying in the know on everything that's going on in the state with rules and things that may affect us in our operations as well. So.
Yeah, and there's a lot of rules, and that's, I guess I would have to say that, I don't think when either one of us got into this occupation that we realized that there was so many rules. All of our facilities have permits that we have to abide by, and some of them several permits that we have to abide by, and we get inspected on those. We have reports to do on them. So yeah, there's a lot of nuances in our occupation.
Not only are there a lot of rules to know, I'm sure, but they're always changing. I mean, they add to them each year, don't they?
Oh yes, sometimes they don't tell us.
The burden of learning about new things is on you, I suppose.
Yes.
Right.
There's a lot of professional education throughout the year as well, on either through the MPCA, we have a Solid Waste Administrators Association, there's other associations that we both belong to.
Josh, in Hubbard County, are you, with your transfer stations, are you shipping trash to the incinerator in Fosston, Polk County?
Yeah, so Hubbard County, I think is around 2016, became a member of the Polk County group. So we're one of the 6 counties where all of our waste and recycling goes to Polk County. So a portion of our waste will go to Fosston, where it goes through the resource recovery facility and eventually through the incinerator. And then a portion of our waste goes directly to the landfill, which is located in Gently, close to Crookston, Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And then all of our recycling as well goes to the facility in Fosston, which we call the MRF, the Material Recovery Facility.
And that's where the recycling from Beltrami goes as well, right?
It does. All 6 counties that are part of this coalition, all of our recyclables go there. They get sorted and into the different types of commodity and then sold.
Now, more about recycling in just a moment. But why does some trash go right to the landfill by Gently?
So our waste streams kind of need to be separated based on the makeup of it. So like our household garbage that you would put, like, let's say underneath your kitchen sink, or would go in a garbage bag, that is able to go through the processing equipment once it gets to Fosston. But things like furniture, large bulky items, them things can't be going through that processing equipment, so they're sent directly to the landfill.
And there, I guess we pretty much know what happens to them. Is that, there are new rules coming about linings for landfills. Is that landfill by Gently, is that lined?
Yes, that's a municipal solid waste landfill that can pretty much take anything there. There's certain things that it still can't take, like hazardous waste and stuff like that. There's special landfills just for some special waste.
One of the things we'll find out a little more about on this show is that landfills have a capacity, and sometimes they reach that. How about that landfill by Gently? Is it near its capacity? Any idea?
I think we continually they got to work through different permitting phases, and they're going through that right now to do an expansion at the landfill. But the area of the landfill itself, it's over a 300-acre site that should have capacity, for the next several generations, as long as permitting is able to go through. So.
And the ash from the incinerator in Fosston goes there as well, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, they have a separate ash landfill, separate from where the mixed solid waste or the MSW goes.
Oh,
so
I see.
And they're able to use that ash actually. It's a material they're able to use for highway projects and road projects. It's a kind of a beneficial reuse, as some of the materials like that we call, where they're able to use that for road bases and actually take that out of that landfill and have a usable purpose for that. So.
Gotta like that. How many transfer stations do you have in Hubbard County, and where are they?
So we have the 2 transfer stations in Hubbard County. So we have the one right close to the Cabacona Corners in LaPorte, which is a little bit smaller of a transfer station, and then we have our transfer station in Park Rapids. Both of the transfer stations are, a full service operations, where we also have a demolition landfill at each site as well. So.
Okay. Brian, how about in Beltrami County?
Well, in Beltrami, we have 2 transfer stations as well, and the kind of population kind of determines how big they are. So the one in Black Duck is more austere. It can handle everything except for Packer trucks. And the one in Bemidji obviously is our flagship of transfer stations in Beltrami County, because we take everything pretty much there. So, except for industrial waste, there's some certain things, and that's the thing about transfer stations. Even we can't take everything, and we've had some of those situations just happen recently where we get 55-gallon barrels of stuff, and they still have material in them, and they came from a commercial business, and we can't accept those. Those have to get processed through hazardous waste outlet like OSI, Safety Clean, stuff. Clean Harbors takes care of stuff like that.
I guess I would make that mistake if I were generating that kind of waste, because there's the facility at the transfer station in Bemidji where you can drop off used motor oil, for instance.
Right, and that's only for residents. We're not, I guess, permitted or set up to take commercial waste. So that's never been, and that's pretty much for all of our counties. We're not set up to take the commercial waste. They're supposed to work directly with a vendor to take care of their stuff.
I see.
And the commercial hazardous waste.
Yes.
Right. Speaking of residents using transfer stations, I know in Beltrami, Brian, you've worked on trying to remind people that they need to bring those cards. How's that going?
Well, it's a constant, I won't say struggle, but it's a constant reminder. Some people are very good at it. And, the cards are there for I guess, a reason, and to try to only allow people that pay for the service to get the service. And that's why those orange cards are, we sent them all out, and actually in the mail last fall again, to try to make sure everyone was covered. And it's a challenge that both of us have, as far as only paying for our county's waste to get processed and recycled or disposed of. And the more porous we have our waste stream, the more we allow misuse of the system to be other people coming up. I mean, I know that there's always talk that people from other counties that have to pay for certain special waste, for instance, refrigerators. Some places have to charge $50 to $100 to get rid of a refrigerator. Here we take them for free. So, and there is a cost to processing a refrigerator. You got to take all the refrigerant out of it, and you actually have to be trained to do that. And so yes, there is a cost. We send the refrigerators once we do all of our due diligence to get it prepared to go to a recycler, and those actually get sold as scrap metal then.
Josh, how about in Hubbard? Do people have the cards? Do they bring them? Are they required to?
We haven't taken that step yet. It's something we're always kind of looking at, of how can we kind of ensure that only our residents are using our facilities, or the residents outside of, or in the neighboring counties are paying for that service. So in Hubbard County, we do have an option where residents that might live in different counties that come into our facilities can buy a yearly permit, so they're able to utilize our facilities. We've also, in the last few years, I worked out an agreement with Beltrami County where, let's say, the northern Hubbard County residents, they can fill out an application through my office, and we send some fees up to Beltrami County where they're able to use the Beltrami County transfer station as well. So, it gets the people that might be working in Bemidji another option than having to drive to the North Transfer Station, Gabacona. So.
But that's being paid for, as you said. You're compensating
Correct,
Beltrami County.
and we issue a card then as well.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
and those cards actually have expiration dates on them because in order to continue to use our facilities, they have to fill out the application with Hubbard County and keep that going on a yearly basis.
So in Hubbard, property tax, property owners are being charged an annual solid waste handling fee on their property taxes, like in Beltrami?
Yeah, it's really very similar to Beltrami County. We have a annual solid waste assessment that any property that has a residence on it will be charged that annual assessment, and allows them to use our facility. And our facilities really, in the grand scheme of things, operate very very similar. Beltrami might have a few extra things that they charge for that we might not charge for, but it's built into our solid waste assessment. But in the grand scheme of things, we operate pretty similar. So.
I remember when that fee went into effect in Beltrami County, and let's say it wasn't greeted with great enthusiasm, but it had a good purpose, obviously. What's that money used for?
Well, it's used, when you look at the services, for instance, it augments our demo landfill as far as what the fee is there, because right now the demo landfill is $17 a cubic yard. $17 a cubic yard for what we bring in there does not pay to operate that facility. So we use some of it for that. Some of it's used to send all of our recyclables over to Polk County to help with the transportation of the processing, because once it hits the transfer station, we have to then sort it, and then some of it we process ourselves to get it ready to get sent to a recycler, for instance, e-waste. So it's to do all of our special wastes, processing and either recycling or disposal of that, and the processing and disposal of all of your other waste. We have basically everything that's larger than if we bring furniture in, we have a charge for that. But anything, I would say a 5-gallon pail or less, we don't charge for. Everything bigger than that, part of the thought process is not everyone brings in furniture every day. So if you want to get rid of your furniture, that there's a charge for that. Kind of the same with demo debris. We'll help offset that cost, but it doesn't pay for the whole thing. So when you bring stuff to the demo landfill, you're actually paying only a part of what it truly costs to operate that facility.
Let's back up for just a moment, because you mentioned the demo landfill in Beltrami, which is about to become kind of an issue, right, Brian? There's some transitions coming there?
Yeah, it's a huge transition. It's all across the state of Minnesota, and we have actually tried to get in front of this. It's been talked about for several years. We actually just received a letter here this fall from the MPCA stating that they're going through rulemaking, and the rules should be done sometime in 2024. And once those rules are in effect, we have 7 years from then to come up with a plan to close our landfill and come up with another way. So the real push is to put all of our land or all of our demo debris into a lined landfill. It's part of our we had a 9-county group that got together. We tried to do this regionally, so we're not, we feel like we can do things more efficient and better if we work together with our partner counties and come up with a plan that will hopefully take care of this waste stream for all 9 counties and kind of produce at least a solution for this waste, which everyone's been telling us is changing, but no one actually has a solution. We came up with what we consider the solution, and it's what we call a hub and spoke system, where we're really closing 11 landfills, and we're asking to have basically 2 lined landfills. And the thing of it is that the state really doesn't even know what these landfills are going to be, if they're going to be a C&D lined landfill, because there's no such thing really as far as a landfill, or if they're going to be industrial landfills. What we believe is that they're not going to be MSW landfills, because even the one over in Polk County, I believe, is going to have some type of C&D/industrial landfill area for this special waste. Because unless the state completely changes how they see waste, it's always been a thought that we're supposed to reduce the amount of waste going into an MSW landfill, because those landfills, it's such a cost. We try to conserve the airspace in there because it's such a valuable resource.
Now, not everybody generates waste that goes to a demolition debris landfill, but obviously I think the name is pretty much self-explanatory, right? What all goes there?
So the demolition debris landfill is really thought, I always think of it as, if you think of your house, anything that's part of the actual structure of your house, the building, that's what would go in a demolition landfill. So you have we accept wood, lumber, siding, sheetrock, shingles, anything that's really attached to your structure, a permanent structure, is really what the construction and demolition material is. So.
And the demo landfills in Hubbard County would go through the same, they're going to be subject to the same rule changes that Brian spoke of, correct?
Yeah, so, exactly, we're up against the same deadlines, and a lot of our facilities in the 9 county group that we formed are also reaching the end of their life capacity as well. So, we tried to get out ahead of it as a region. We're finding the solution really for our region, but also to be a model of what the state can follow for the future of construction and demolition landfilling. So, we formed with our 9 county group, we applied for grant funding. We're actually able to receive a MPCA grant to do a big study to kind of lay out all these options. And as Brian mentioned, the solution that we see is a hub and spoke solution, where we'll have 2 lined landfills, and the spokes would be, our different transfer station sites around our 9 counties that would bring the construction and demolition material into the hub facilities. So.
I understand that sometimes that's the best way to do it, have everybody go together on 2 sites in this case, but then that involves moving a lot of demo debris. Is the tonnage of demolition debris that goes into our landfill in Beltrami, for instance, currently, about the same as the household waste that we're generating that goes from the transfer station to Foster?
No, we produce less demo debris overall than household waste or anything that would come to the transfer station. I think and that's the problem with demo debris. It's not a consistent waste flow, because it kind of goes with, for instance, when BSU did their big building demo, we got a huge influx of demo debris that year. We currently have had a huge influx of demo debris because of those motels that were just or not motels, but the apartment buildings that were just taken down, that were condemned. So it when things like that happen, we're really busy, and then it kind of slows down. So and that's the problem with demo debris, is it's not a consistent flow. Now we can look at some averages, but when we look at that, we have to figure out how to keep these hubs and spokes going, because of the fact that we need that revenue. Because even if we get this grant funding, which I'm very hopeful we will, because we can't do it without it. That's been the message, is if we don't get state funding, and the state's part of the problem, because of the fact that they're changing the rules, they need to be part of the solution then too, and part of that would be the funding aspect. But that's where we need to look at how we're going to sustain that as well. So we got to figure out what those tip fees are, you know, the flow, the waste flow. You know, I guess our group is trying to figure out every way to make C&D something else, to repurpose it, to have a beneficial reuse for it. We're hopeful that we have some things that would be able to be sustained. We've been, you know, I guess one of the big exciting things that I just would like to say is biochar, for instance. It's been a big push for biochar in the state of Minnesota. It's nationally something that's really become it's just been, I guess, in the last couple of years, it's been in all the news as far as is a new way to recycle different things, and it's taking wood and really turning it into charcoal, and then that wood actually, or that charcoal, then becomes a soil amendment where you then charge it with some type of organic material, then it's a natural fertilizer, and then that charcoal actually captures those nutrients, and it doesn't just wash away into the soil. So, you know, when you consider taking demo debris and then making it into a soil amendment to where now we're actually doing something for agriculture and turning soil that may not be that good to grow things into soil that's very nutrient and able to produce better crops.
Well, the whole issue with solid waste disposal, with demo debris specifically, is something we'll have to watch closely in the coming years. I hope you'll come back in maybe next season and maybe the season after that, because it's a huge part of the economic vitality of any area. If you can't dispose of the stuff you have to tear down to build new stuff,
right.
Well, how are you going to keep building new stuff? So that's a real important issue, but we're down to not that many minutes left in our show, and I want to talk about recycling. Now, one of the stories that's been in the news and online, where everything is true that you read, of course, not, but what people are saying is that recycling plastic, you and I talked about this, Brian, what's being said is, well, there isn't any plastic recycling. It's just an invention of the plastic industry. They say, oh yeah, you can recycle your plastic now, so go ahead, buy another bottle of detergent or whatever, just so people will feel better about buying their plastic bottles. And skeptics are saying, well, it's not actually. It's just going from that recycling bin to the landfill, or the incinerator in our case. But is that true?
Todd, no, it's not. You know, we won't do it unless we have an outlet for it. It has to become a commodity, and that's the thing with recycling. You know, recycling, not everything is recyclable. You have to have an outlet for it. It has to be a commodity. Someone else has got to be willing to purchase this material, and even though the markets on that are very volatile as far as revenue that we get from that, which actually then goes back into the 6 county, our coalition, to help pay and offset the cost, so we don't have to raise those tipping fees at the landfill and at the Foston Material Recovery Facility. But recycling, yes, it is. You know, we do type 1 and 2 plastics. You know, we are very hopeful. We have sometime at the beginning of the year we might be able to do type 5. You know, we've been up and down with type 5. The problem with this is it takes people to be part of the solution in this in the material recovery facility. Now we've actually replaced some people because we've been short-staffed there for the past 24 months, and have only been able to operate at partial capacity. So in order for that to happen, we put robots in there. We have actually 5 robots now?
Yep.
5 robots. We were just updated on that yesterday. So, and these robots are going to allow us to actually have a cleaner recycling stream, to where then our product is we can do more, and it will be cleaner, to where we hopefully will even get more money for that commodity.
Type 1, 2, and possibly 5 plastics. What are these types, and how do you find out what type you have?
Well, the types are, I'll let Josh, I mean, we have, sorry.
Oh, yeah, typically, if you look, there's a recycling label like on every container you have. So there'll be a number 1 or a number 2 on there. Like milk jugs are a type 2, correct? Recyclable.
And the number's in the little triangle, sometimes on the bottom of the plastic container, right?
Yep.
Correct.
And then you have type 1 materials, which are, I think, typically like a pop bottle, soda bottle, things like that. And then as you get, into the different types of packaging material, a lot of that can range from, really, 3 to 7. A lot of it isn't really recyclable in our current system. With number 5s, that would be really great for us to be able to capture. That's going to be capturing a lot of your produce containers, a lot of your yogurt containers, for instance, and things like that. So,
now, do you recycle 1s and 2s in Hubbard County?
Yep. Everybody, within our 6-county system, we're kind of limited to the same. So we do number 1 and 2s, and that's what we advertise. And honestly, we do get there's some contamination, in there. So it's, really encouraging residents to really focus on what's actually recyclable and only putting that material in the recycling.
So don't bring the big plastic toys and all the rest of the big plastic things to the recycling areas.
Yeah, and it's really just food, it's food containers, because all those large items like that, even if it's a type 1 or 2 or a 5, for instance, it won't go through our processing facility. So those things will get, unfortunately, just discarded because the system won't process them and get it to the right waste or recycling stream. So the other thing that is exciting about the state of Minnesota, there was a new company that came in, and we talk about recycling.
We have about 20 seconds.
Okay, and I would just say that there's a new company that takes basically this film, garbage or shopping bags, and then they're actually turning it in. Josh and I toured this facility, so when you say that does it truly turn into something, they produce this a resin pellet, then that gets turned back into more plastic film bottles.
There's the evidence right there. Guys, thanks for what you do, and thanks for joining us for this edition of Lakeland Currents. I'm Todd Haugen. We thank you for watching Lakeland Currents and for your support of Lakeland PBS.